mile an hour. You're not going to see much tires go on these cars here, because it really doesn't matter. It's a super speedway. I mean, come on. All they're going to be doing is filling these things up with Sunoco race fuel and hoping to get to the end of this one without any scratches and or dents in their cars.
I tell you, Devin, and Ben, also, you know, with an issue, the green flag pit stops. Let's talk about this for a minute. Ben, when they're coming out of 4, if there's green flag pit stop conditions, and Devin, you got to kind of keep in mind, coming off that 4 embankment, you got to get that car slowed down, but at the same time, you want to keep your speed, keep your momentum going into the pits, but also there's that pit speed limit. And Ben, you could tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I tell you what, I talked to some of the drivers before the race, and that's what they're worried about. That's where most, well, not really most crashes, but some crashes during the race happen when everybody's just trying to scramble to get on the pit road the fastest and not lose that much time. Some drivers are worried about it, some are the most cool they could be about it. And Mr. Schmecker, he knows a little bit about these restrictor plate races. Devin, how do you do it?
Well, especially at Daytona with the shorter front straightaway, it's really important to get the car down onto the apron as quick as you can. Let everyone know around you that you're pitting, because if you don't, you got to slow down as soon as you get off turn 4. And you want to carry as much speed as you can in the pit road, but you got to get down to, like you said, 55 miles an hour. So you got to be careful not to lock those brakes up.
And I also want to bring up, Ben, the fact about these cars, the overheating engine problem, and then the tandem car swapping.
Yeah, these guys, you know, it's work enough as it is going 200 mile an hour trying to race in these packs, I guess you could say. But when doing so, you got to be pushing the person in front of you, and while you're pushing them, you barely have enough time to look down. But when you do look down, you have to look at your gauges, and if they're flashing red, I mean, you got to say, hey, bud, we got to switch, or this thing's going to blow on up.
Yeah, I tell you, Devin, that's one thing that always gets me is that you got the oil to watch, you got the water temp to watch, you got the guy that's racing 3 wide above you or 2 wide above you, the guy that's right on your bumper, you're right in front of somebody, and you're having to do this all at, you know, 205, 207 miles an hour, Devin.
Oh, definitely. When you come to Daytona and Talladega, it's really, your race is in the hands of the other drivers around you. I mean, of course, you got to be careful about yourself, and when you want to swap, you push for about 3 to 4 laps, no problem. And you want, if you can, you want to do the swap into the entrance of a corner. And what the pushing car has to do is get underneath the car that's out front, and the car out front needs to dive back in line as quick as he can and get lined up with the car that was pushing him. And that's what can cause the trouble in the packs.
Yeah, I tell you, tandem racing, that swapping's really going to be interesting too, guys, because when you got that guy out front of you and your car starts to blink and you got to do the swap, well, you're not the only one that's racing right there. I mean, you got a whole pack of guys behind you that's wanting to pass you, wanting to battle for the lead, and so you got to make sure that you kind of caretake them and do the swap, you know, almost perfect, because if you don't, then you'll get in everybody's way. It could cause a big pileup. So the tandem swap, the car swapping, is what I'm really interested to see here, guys, tonight. Not just the overheating of the engines, but the actual tandem car swapping. I can't wait to see if these guys have got that critique down.
What you're likely going to see tonight, which I've noticed, I've done a couple of these races this week. At the beginning of the races, you see about 3 or 4 tandems pull in front of the pack, and everybody else, either they try to just ride there and get to the end, or they can't find a partner, and you'll see guys running a pack, and you'll have guys get 2 or 3 seconds ahead of the pack. So when it comes down to the end of this thing, if you don't have a partner, you pretty much don't have a chance of winning this race tonight.
Absolutely. You got to have someone to draft with. You got to have someone to pit with if there's green flag conditions. If not, you're going to find yourself in the back, a lap down. Alright guys, we are back here, Devin, and I tell you, we're going to go ahead and these guys have got their Q times in the books. We're going to go ahead and bring you down the list. Starting on the pole tonight, guys, G. Allen Lewis with a solid 47.515. And outside him, no other than John Gregorio with a 47.523.
Behind them, in row 2, you got Dwayne Vincent with a 47.524, and 3/10 behind him, you got Chris Schallenbarger, the number 35, who put up a 5.27.
And starting in row 3, in the number 5 spot, Kel Dresbach. Outside him, R.J. Williams.
Next row, you got Steve Ritter, who ran a 5.36, and behind him, you got Bobby Terrell, who ran a 5.57.
Landon Huffman, points leader, starting ninth tonight at Daytona. Outside him in the 83 machine, Jay Horton.
Ronnie Potts starting the number 22 machine in the 11th position. Outside of him, the number 38 is Dane Horton.
Doug Roth in the 43 machine, rolling off 13th tonight. Outside him in the number 2, Matt Lacrosse.
Behind them in the 15th and 16th position, you got Jonathan Cadell and Jimmy North.
In the 17th position, the number 94 car, Jeff Addison. Outside Jeff tonight is going to be the number 5 machine of J. Randall Watkins.
Behind them, you got James Mullins in the number 81, and in the 20 car, you got Mike Montesi.
Behind that group of guys, you got Jason Elrod in the 70 and John Abbott in the Gatorade number 10 car.
And the number 06 rolling off in the 23rd position, you got Bruce Perry, and outside of him, the 25, you got Chris Schilling.
Tony Kaler bringing up the next row. Outside Tony's going to be the number 14 Chevrolet of Joey Gattina.
Next row, you got Adam Roberts in that 88 Mean Machine starting 27th, and outside of him, R.C. Rigdon in that number 19.
Navy's own Eric Arnold starting in the 29th position in that 47 Chevrolet, and outside him, everybody knows this guy in that yellow D-Walk Chevrolet, Chad Cole, who sits second points.
Rolling off 31st in the 27, you got Guy Snyder, and outside of him in the number 85, you got Nathan Bowers.
Starting 33rd in the number 33 car, David Lanza. Outside David's going to be Greg Netherwood in the 08.
And that number 56 rolling off 35th, you got Patrick Hahi, and outside him you got Joseph Hayes in the 69.
And then the final two tonight, Devin going to be starting 37th in that 46 machine, Randy Wells. Outside Randy's going to be Keith Brooks Jr. and Devin, they're going to be looking to bring it up from the rear. And Devin, I tell you what, there's no other place that I want to be at Daytona right now is exactly where those two guys are, Randy Wells and Keith Brooks Jr. What do you think?
Certainly there is no safe place at Daytona, but if there's a place you want to be, you want to be in the back. Of course, you don't want to be there at the end, but if you want to ride around for a while, get to the end of that race, then make your charge. You're going to see quite a few people do that tonight.
Yeah, you sure are, David. You're going to see a lot of guys hang out in the back, possibly break out to a first pack of racing, a second pack of racing. But I tell you what, that pace car is about to make that famous left-hand turn, Devin, and the number 4 of G. Allen Lewis is going to bring them to the green flag at Daytona International Speedway.
Number 4 gets a huge jump on the field. He's going to clear him, but here comes Dwayne Vincent, the 13. He's going to the bottom. So far, so good. Everyone laying off each other into turn 1.
Yeah, I'll take a look back through the rest of the field, Devin, and everybody got a pretty good start. And like you said, the 4 car kind of got a good start, but jumped up high. Looks like he's paired up with that number 1 machine of John Gregorio, who started outside him tonight, as they rocket down the backstretch. Already tandem up, Devin.
Yep, leaders, all the front 4, they got a partner. Looks like that's who they're probably going to work with for the rest of the race. They know they're fast. They started up front. It looks like they're going to try and stay there as they rocket off turn 4.
Yeah, what's so hard here, guys, is trying to find that guy that you can work so well with. I mean, you know, you get up behind somebody who you're not really familiar with, and you're just not familiar with their line, so it kind of gets a little hairy for you. But a lot of these guys trying to find that guy just so they can hook up with for a little bit, possibly just to get to the front or to wherever their partner is or teammate is, Devin.
The 13 and the 45 have shut out ahead of the pack by about 5 to 6 car lengths down the back straightaway. We got some really good racing going on side by side for about the 5th, 6th on back position.
Yeah, guys still trying to make their spots and make their names known here tonight, but checking out from the front is Dwayne Vincent and Kel Dresbach. Now they're out front, and they've got a pretty solid lead on G. Allen Lewis, who's your post hitter. But I tell you, G. Allen and that #1 machine of John Gregorio's right back again at it. It looks like they're going to make the pass here going into 1, Devin.
Yeah, the 4 car looked to the outside. Nothing doing right now. He's looking again in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Nothing doing. So we're going to see if anyone else behind him can get paired up and catch these 4. But right now, they are pulling away down the back straightaway.
Now, eventually, the 45 is going to have to do that tandem swap that we talked about. As you can see, he's let off a little bit. You see how he's got that 1-car, 2-car gap there? That's allowing the 4 and the 1 to make their move on the outside, and also allowing that Landon Huffman racing machine and the 21 of R.J. Williams to the outside as they go 3 wide down the front stretch here early on at Daytona, Devin.
Yeah, the 4 and the 1 and shot out ahead of the pack. G. Allen Lewis and John Gregorio. After those 2 on the bottom became disconnected as the 4 and the 1 make the swap. You'll see that 4 car drop back in line if he can, and he will. Here comes the 21 and the 75 on the outside. They're disconnected.
Yeah, 75 of Landon Huffman there looked like he got a little bit choppy, possibly coming out of 2 there, but able to get back on the back bumper of RJ again going into 3 here. Now, Devin, I want to take a minute here and allow some time for the fans that's watching, some of their friends and family that doesn't understand this tandem swapping deal or the tandem thing. And I want to bring Ben in here. Ben, on the overheating of the engines, let's talk about that first. These guys got to remember that the overheating, and when that light starts to blink red, what normally happens is we see Landon Huffman get a little bit loose there, guys. Let's go back to that, Ben, in a minute. Huge wreck on the backstretch, guys. Yeah, 43 car I'm hearing, huge wreck.
I believe it started when the 16 got ran over. I'm not sure who it was on the outside. It might have been the 75. I am not sure. Somebody got into the wall. Not sure if it was netcode. But they fell back, and the 13 had nowhere to go, and it looks like the 13 just ran over him. Let's send it on over to John with the replay.
Yeah, let's see if we can see where this all happened here, guys. Had a pretty good start to this race. Oh, there it is. They tried to go 3 wide here, guys, and they just all tangled. I'm not quite sure whose fault it was. I mean, it happened all so fast. But big wreck at the start. There's 3 or 4 or 5, probably about 6, 7 cars. Wow, that's 16. I believe that's a 16 machine. He went rolling, guys.
If that's the 16, John, that's Steve Ritter, and a disappointing start of a race for Steve there. A lot of disappointed drivers probably right now, don't you think, Devin?
To get involved on a lap 5 wreck at Daytona is not too uncommon, as I was a little surprised about the tangos were really not as fast as the single cars, so the single cars are able to stick with those leaders who were shuffling a lot. So it looks like we're going to see some pack racing tonight, and you're going to have those guys try in tandem. So that's probably not going to be the first time you're going to see a wreck like that occur.
That's just Daytona there for you. And I tell you, going back and looking at my monitor, Devin, it looked like the 75 just checked up, the 16 checked up, and the 35 of Chris Schomburger tried to get woed up, but just couldn't quite manage. Tagged the left rear of that 16, and the rest is history from there. And going to see if we got any takers on pit road, and I don't see any of the leaders coming down, but that doesn't mean midway through the pack, guys, Ben, that there's some guys coming in.
Yeah, a few guys, Brandon Huffman, Jay Horton, Chris Schollenberger. All these guys are going to come in and top off on fuel, maybe try and play a little fuel game with their competitors later in the race.
As expected, the leaders did not pit, but you got those guys that may or may not have been involved in the wreck back there that came in, top off with fuel, probably not get tires, because as we said earlier in the broadcast, tires do not mean anything at Daytona. So, yep, like expected, leader stayed out, guys in the back came in.
Yeah, it's kind of too early, Devin, on lap 7. If you're a leader, I would say probably 10th on up or so. If you want to keep that position that you're in, you